How you doing? My name is Charles Fauché Fichet the third. I'm the oldest of four boys. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm also a U.S. Army veteran, honorable U.S. Army veteran of 5 years now. And what I realized was that when I came out of the service, I had me a nice little nest egg, and that nest egg allowed me to decide whether or not I actually wanted to leave the country. It allowed me to see if I wanted to put more money into my businesses that I already had coming out of the service, and which those businesses I actually promoted them while I was in the service, but people had so many excuses as to why it wouldn't work. And so before I went into the service, I told myself I wasn't gonna be there for more than 3 years, which my contract was for 3 years and 20 weeks. And one of the things that I realized was that before I got my nest egg, before the first 2 years of being in the service, I saw myself being extremely successful in my own business, my own health and wellness business, which I also was able to have the top fitness score out of over 150 men and women, that on a fitness test, on a scale of anywhere from I believe it's 180 points to about 300, and I was able to get a 335, which goes to show you that I'm resilient in my health and wellness, my fitness. You have to, be able to take care of yourself. You have to be able to take care of yourself, your body, your mental, your physique, and those things. And so I was able to do that really, really well. And I would say I wasn't even at my peak. Believe it or not, I knew I think I could have went all the way to 400 on a 300 scale. But they apparently they stopped those kind of numbers, from existing. Like, you can't get over 300 and things of that nature. You can take what you made and are able to put that in the calculator, but they didn't want to give you anything over that 300 because it was too much, I guess, or whatever. And so, but I was able to do it anyway within my 2.5 years, of being there, my 2.5 years of service in the army, in the U.S. Army. And so, and I really, had to understand that I actually had family that came before me that went into the service, and they had their walk of life there, and then, and getting out, transitioning, and all of these things. Well, no one ever told me what it was supposed to be like to transition out of the service, which it really, left me at a more of a disadvantage, being able to decide what I could and could not do and how to go about getting things done. And so once I was able to get out, I already had bought my first car at the age of 20. I think I was 21 or 22, and it was a Buick LaCrosse 2013. It had about 4,000, like 40, I think it had 4,500 miles on it. And so I was able to buy that. I put $34,000 into that, cash. I bought the car. I bought the insurance, and I had my driver's license all in the same week. You don't hear that kind of stuff happening that often. Well, lo and behold, once I finally got out, which was June, it was June 2nd of 2015, but it was supposed to be May 28th of 2015. It's just a little bit of a delay, so to speak, in my out processing. You have paperwork you have to do to actually get out of the service. Well, I'm saying all of this to say that I didn't have a lot of things figured out on how I wanted to go about, investment opportunities and things of that nature. Well, my mom and my stepdad were going through a divorce, and it left me to the point where I was deciding on how could I help. In the case that my mom wasn't gonna, because they had their own home. It wasn't paid off, but they were in it, and my stepdad had me. He asked me if I would pay the mortgage. It was actually behind, I think, about 3 months or something. And so I decided to help them out in that area. Well, that didn't actually help them. And when I got out, my mom was basically kicking my stepdad out of the home, and she was going to court and things of that nature. Um, I ended up eventually purchasing a home, but I was already in a relationship at the time, which a lot of things was going on. It was so much going on. I just started smoking marijuana, and I realized that nobody really told me the experiences of marijuana, which was kind of awkward because it's actually helpful in so many ways. And I don't have to sit up here and give you a 10-minute spill, but it does have its benefits, and it can be abused as well to a certain extent, which anything can be technically abused. You know what I'm saying? You could be a doctor and abuse your power there, right? You could be a lawyer and or a real estate agent, and you can abuse your powers there. You could be a teacher. I've been chastised as a kindergarten, student by my teacher. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know what that was supposed to be about. I don't even know why I was even there, but you putting your hands on me, and my family have to react in a way where understanding has to be met. And so, let me just moving forward. I was able to purchase my first home July 17th, I believe, of 2015. I paid 100. I had a nice little nest egg. I had $195,500 in this home that I'm still in now. Now I signed my home over to my mom. Now I didn't had a fight with my brother. I took some mushrooms. It was a long story, but I took some mushrooms and forgot that I did it, and then I got into an altercation with my brother. So but my brother and my mom actually came all the way from Spring, Texas to Magnolia, Texas, in order to see how I was doing. My mom brought a salad, and I started eating the salad because I wasn't really eating so well. I was doing vegan around when I first started, and I only was doing the vegan because my stomach was bothering me so much. I mean, I don't know what it was, if it was lifestyle decisions that I was making or what. I just know that it was a lot of things going on. I know that I also had the flu shot prior back in December of 2014. And I noticed that my body was feeling so weak, and a lot of things from every time I would eat like some fast food or something like that, my body would tell me it would like almost shut down, so to speak, which was really weird. I never really experienced that until I never really been able to not only experience it but pinpoint where was it coming from. I always would associate that kind of pain with food poisoning, which it told me something like, well, if something is not supposed to be in your body and you know it's not supposed to be in your body, what does that feel like? And that's the feeling I was getting from eating all of that fast food and stuff that really just was not good. And so I decided, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna throw away everything that's not working for me. Milk, cheese, chicken, beef, pork, or I don't even never really ate pork. But I just started throwing stuff away into the trash can, and I changed my life by going vegan. I'm 6 year vegan now, and I feel a whole lot better than I did 10 years ago. Let alone when I was coming out of the service. Well, I ended up getting into a fight behind my physique. I felt like I was being challenged on what my body was going through doing vegan, and so I ended up fighting my brother behind that. And we were able to shake it off later, but I went all the way back to Spring to get the car that I gave my brother the money to go get. And I felt like, well, because you didn't want to understand where I was coming from, let me get this car that I gave you money for, which was probably more than likely that was wrong, but I wasn't thinking right because of the mushrooms that I had taken at that time. That was 5 years ago. But still, I wasn't really understanding what mushrooms really were. I just knew that it helped me feel a whole lot, a whole lot better. Just microdosing. Not even 3 grams. And and it was like a little corner that I had left, so I just took them, and then it that was a bad trip is what they called it. But I'm glad I experienced it. I don't regret any of it. And long story short, when I went all the way back to my mom's home, to go and get the keys from my brother for the car, my brother was telling I actually parked my car at the park over in Spring at Bridgestone Lake. I think it was Bridgestone. And I dropped my car off at the park because I was for sure I was gonna get the keys back. And so I went all the way back to the house, and my brother was telling me he didn't want to give me the keys back. So I grabbed his pocket. Well, I hit him with my elbow in the head, and I didn't realize that that's what I did, but I realized that I wasn't being understood. So I was grabbing for the keys, and then that's when we got into it, and we tearing up the living room and everything. And eventually I was so tired, and I was like, hold on, my heart feel like it's just racing so much. And so I was like, well, just get up off of me, get off. He was like, my brother was like laying over my body, and I was telling, I guess he was trying to calm me down, but I was like, well, I can't necessarily breathe the way I need to, and I noticed that much because it was the pressure on my chest. So I was like, well, hold on, just move up off of me like this, so that way I can be able to breathe. And so they called the police, and I threw up, and we just basically shook hands. At the same time, I realized that my family, I had, distant relatives that came out from New Orleans to come and see, what was going on. They knew my brother was coming back in town from the Marine Corps. Well, what I realized was that I was hearing things a little bit. I don't know if I was actually hearing it, or if my mind was playing tricks on me or what. But I heard that, I was going to be killed from my home, the home that I purchased in Magnolia. Now, I don't want people to believe that, but that's just something that I heard, and I don't know if I told anyone that, but at the same, because I just brushed it off. But then later I was asked in the case that I wanted to sign my home over, so that way I can, basically get my finances back together, because I had been doing a lot of things, investing and just, a lot of money going out and a lot of money not coming back in. And I actually invested into my mom's home, which she ended up getting out of the divorce. And I ended up investing over $5,000 into that. And in addition to that, I had to furnish my home, the year prior. So we're in 2016, and I'm buying things and things of that nature, not paying attention to my investments. And lo and behold, my mom asked me to put the house in her name, take it out of my name, put it into her name, so that way, I guess the authorities wouldn't take the home, which was, one of the dumbest decisions that I think I've ever made. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would love for my mom to have a home in her name, but she already had a home, which, she basically gained out of a divorce. You know what I'm saying? And so, and my mom has been married more than once. So I'm like, well, you should know what you're doing. And I was looking at retiring my mom before I got out the service. Well, she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to to leave her job and find something better, so that way she could be, she didn't have to worry about at least that job, which I knew was more stressful on her than anything. Well, lo and behold, she ended up getting the house out of it. I put the house over in her name and my brother underneath me name. And right now, you look at 5 years later, I was looking at what kind of support would I be able to get in order to be able to getting my name back, getting my home back in my name, and being able to continue to support my businesses. And I know I've made certain decisions that led me to a position where people are probably going to be looking at what I'm doing, i.e., the women that I'm hanging out with, the women that I choose to date, the women that that I would bring into my home, and it wasn't a whole lot of women that I want. It wasn't like I brought 50 women to my home, and then I wound up where I couldn't pay my bills or anything. It wasn't like that at all. You know what I'm saying? I lived in my home for not even a whole year, not even a whole 10 months when I first purchased it, because I was doing a lot of traveling. I went to Puerto Rico, beautiful, San Juan, El Rincon. I've been to California, San Diego, all throughout Orange County, Malibu with my ex, and then Colorado. Went to Denver, brought my buddy out there, and went to Las Vegas. For my business, we had what we call Project 50,000, where it's a marketing campaign to get 50,000 people to see our business and our opportunities. And so, in all of that, I was actually getting ready to have a kid, and my ex had a miscarriage, which it took me for a loop, and it led me to signing my home over, because I knew I needed to clear my head and to do what I needed to do as far as moving forward. Well, now 5 years later, I'm being told that, it's no longer my home. I signed my car over as well. It's no longer my car apparently. It's a few things that goes in it, but my thing is, you can't just take somebody's stuff and then think that they won't, fight for that. You know what I mean? Like, you will have consequences behind that. You can't just, oh well, you just signed it over. It's no longer yours. It don't work like that in the real world. We seeing that now. with the whole the whole Native Americans, Native Indians, Native Americans. We're looking at that with the whole, the economy right now, the whole sea situation. We're being made to feel like this or that, but we're natural to these parts, right? And that needs to be understood at all levels. And so when I look at it, I'm saying, okay, well, I lost my grandmother, man, April 19th of 2020, this year. And it told me something. It told me that, okay, I was willing to change my life 6 years ago. Well, now almost 6 years ago. I changed my life as far as my diet, and my spirituality. I'm basically, I don't believe in all, so many of these different religions, because I've never seen anything that actually stuck with me. Now I can get into the Bible, and I can, I can look at it in Genesis and see that the fruits, vegetables, and herbs are for the healing of the nations. Well, my family, after so long, have not decided that that's what makes sense. They've decided that they can still eat the way they want and be able to feel, like everything is fine, which, that's fair to a certain extent. But when you haven't had blood work on your to find out your blood pressure, to find out if you have high blood pressure, to find out if you are a diabetic, to find out if you are anemic, right? If you do have cancer somewhere, you're not even doing what makes sense, to be able to maintain in this world as a man or woman, which speaks volumes to me. It means that you're not responsible enough, you're not competitive enough, and you're more complacent to the point where, you're not responsible for to be able to say, well, your name belongs on property that you did not invest your funds on, right? And in all of this, I done became an uncle, and and I'm appreciative of it. I just need to see how, we're actually doing what's in our right to make sure that we're providing the best opportunities for the next generation, right? I have cousins, you know, so many cousins, over 30 cousins, I'm sure, and I'm trying to figure out, well, who's actually worrying about the future of our next generation. I wouldn't like to be the only one, and in addition to that, we have some other issues that I will be speaking about. But thank you for listening. You have a wonderful day.